What's up, guys? Welcome back to the SNS podcast. It is week 11. We are in November, so it's like getting serious for all the teams that are in the playoff race, and there's a good amount of them. This weekend, we've got a couple games that are, I think, essentially elimination games. Miami plays Notre Dame. Oklahoma plays TCU. There's some other games that I guess maybe aren't quite elimination games, but there's a lot of implication. Georgia plays Auburn. Alabama plays Mississippi State. Those are ranked versus ranked teams. There might be a couple other. I know there's a couple others that I'm missing, but we'll get into those. But yeah, so it's getting real. It's getting kind of crazy. I have a feeling that it might be like 2007. I don't know if it'll be quite like that, but I'll start off with a bold statement right away. I don't think Alabama or Georgia's winning out. I think both is going to lose a game. However, that might not mean much for maybe either or both, and I'll get into. I was actually thinking about this today before you came over. I actually have a playoff prediction right now. You just want me to give it right now?
Yeah.
Just to start the pod off with a bang.
Yeah, do it.
You're gonna hate it. And
Okay.
I hate saying it, but I have right now, just to start the pod, in the playoff at the end of the year, I have Alabama and Georgia, and I think both will have a loss. I have Clemson, and then I have Notre Dame. I think that Clemson and Notre Dame certainly could lose a game at some point. I think it'd be more likely for Notre Dame. I think they have a couple tougher games left than what Clemson would have. And Clemson still has to play a rivalry game with South Carolina. They probably will still play Miami, I guess. But I really like Clemson when Bryant especially has been healthy. And I don't want to get too much into these specific teams yet because we'll be able to actually preview like Bama, Mississippi State, Georgia, Auburn. We'll talk about those games for like a second. But the reason that I think, unfortunately, being an Ohio State fan, that Georgia and Alabama both get in is I do not think Wisconsin wins out. I think they might actually even lose 2 games possibly. But I don't think the Big Ten then gets a team in. And I also don't think that the Pac-12 is getting a team because I don't think Washington wins out because their schedule is actually pretty tough to end the year.
Yeah.
I don't think Oklahoma wins out. I wouldn't be that surprised if they did and they got in. I don't want to see them in because I don't think they have a defense that can win them a championship. So I don't think the Big 12 then gets a team. So if the Big 12 doesn't get one, Big 10 doesn't get one, Pac-12 doesn't get one, that leaves, if the SEC definitely gets one, that leaves a spot for Clemson, and then like you still have 2 other spots that you got to fill. So that's just where I went with it. Obviously, that could be way off, but I think that scenario makes sense in the way that I've thought it up. But you can, I guess, talk about it. Whatever you want to talk about as far as the standings or what you see maybe happening before we get into specific games. Yeah.
What do you so in your playoff that you just predicted, what do you think the semifinal matchups would be?
I didn't think about that
Do you think
specifically.
where would they seed Georgia, do you think? Because
I think it depends on where I think they all lose. Like I guess what I'm saying is I think that
they wouldn't want to have a rematch, I don't think, in the very next game.
I think is going to happen is I think in my scenario Georgia goes 12-0 and loses to Alabama in the SEC title game.
Yeah.
I think Alabama loses to either Mississippi State on Saturday. It's Friday night right now, so tomorrow, or they lose at Auburn 2 weeks from now.
Both away games.
Yeah. So I think I have Bama and Georgia going 12-1 with Bama winning the SEC title, but Georgia still getting in because there's going to be a bunch of 2-loss teams, in my opinion. So
yeah, I agree with what you said at the start about tomorrow too. I feel like something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 3 games with top 10 teams playing each other, so
right.
3 of them have to go down for sure.
Right.
You could have a surprise with Alabama losing. So we'll see.
The spread on that's 14. Bama is pretty darn banged up going into that game. Mississippi State is a decently tough place to play. Nick Fitzgerald, the quarterback's been very good all year. Mississippi State's been really good in some matchups. There's been a couple matchups where they were just really overmatched. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I do like Dan Mullen, and I think these injuries are going to catch up to Bama at some point here. I'm not trying to shoot down Bama. Like I still think they're probably the best team in the country, but I don't think, and like I know Corey and Steele would probably just continue to give me shit for this, but I don't think Bama is in a tier by themselves this year. I think there's like a bunch of just good teams that are all kind of lumped together, and any of them could win.
But yeah, so the top 8, I'd say pretty much all control their own destiny.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Notre Dame, we've talked about, earlier this week just via text. Like, there are some weird scenarios where it would be pretty tough. Like, the committee would have tough decisions on their hands.
Yeah.
For example, if you have like Alabama winning out, Clemson winning out, and they're in,
right?
Georgia with 1 loss versus Notre Dame with 1 loss, and say like the other team is undefeated Wisconsin or something.
Right.
So then they have to decide, like, put 2 SEC teams in, or put Notre Dame in, even though
over like
Georgia would have beat them.
Yeah, or over like undefeated Power 5 conference champion.
Yeah,
which I don't think is happening.
Yeah, and there's a question about like Wisconsin, even if they go undefeated, will their schedule be good enough?
Yeah.
I think it will, because I just don't think they'll leave out an undefeated Power 5.
I think in that scenario, because I did think about that scenario today, I think Notre Dame would get left out. Whether they deserve to get left out or not, like whether, if you think they should be in, I think it's totally arguable that if they went out, they absolutely should be in.
Yeah.
But what the committee would do and what they should do are obviously 2 different things. So I think in that scenario, Notre Dame is the one left out.
I think that's really the only scenario that Notre Dame can get left out if they win out, and that's an undefeated Wisconsin, because they're still undefeated and they're further down the rankings, so they can climb all the way up there.
Yeah.
All these other teams have 1 loss.
Yeah.
Miami obviously would have a loss by that point, so they'd be out.
Right. But I mean, that scenario is like really improbable. I think. Like I don't remember any year in the history of college football where like every team at this point in the season just like won out. You know what I mean? So
see, there's a lot of big matchups to end the season. Like,
but you don't think Notre Dame's winning out, right?
I said by percentages, it's probably like a coin flip.
It probably is. Like, as much as I think they're a matchup nightmare for Stanford this year, who usually is really good against the run, but has been pretty weak against the run.
Yeah.
And then as much as and we've talked about this in the podcast or in the
Stanford is just like a worse version of Notre Dame this year.
Yeah.
They both
in some aspects. Like
running isn't the only thing that Notre Dame can do. They're just really good at it. Stanford, it's the only thing they can do, but they're also really good.
Like, and we've talked with Steele about this, where when they have packed the box against Notre Dame, when teams have done that, Wimbush has actually done pretty well to get the ball down the field and at least keep the defense soft enough to where they can continue to run it. Like, Notre Dame's averaging like 320 on the ground. And it will be interesting to see that, Notre Dame and Georgia and Alabama are like really similar this year in the sense that we still might have questions about all 3 of their passing games. Fromm has been asked to do nothing.
A lot of teams at the top.
Yeah.
Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
TCU, obviously not.
Right.
Miami, Wisconsin, like.
Well, I think TCU, we can question their passing a little bit because it is
just because it's Kenny Hill.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. They can move the ball though.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Well, they can move it within the Big 12. I question if maybe they can do it against good defenses.
Yeah,
I think Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma could do it against. They've proven they can do it against good defense. But but Oklahoma can't stop a soul, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I do think all those teams definitely control their destiny. Outside of those 8,
and then you've got Washington at number 9.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is. They're kind of forgotten right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they control their. Technically, they don't control their own destiny, but I think if they win out, there's a really good chance. More than likely, they will be in because, like we said, someone's probably going to lose in front.
Yeah. If they went out, I think they're probably in. I think it's actually like pretty darn good chance they're in.
Yeah.
But I don't think they do. I mean, they play Stanford tonight, which I do think they control that game, but it's a game they could lose. They still play.
I think they're on the road at the Pirate.
They play
Last week of the
they play
season?
at Washington State. They have a game in between. The game next week, I looked at their schedule. The game next week I thought was losable, and then they would have to play SC
Yeah.
in the Pac-12
Oh yeah,
championship
yeah.
game, who
They
traditionally
host.
owns
They
them.
host Utah.
Yeah,
next week,
Utah's
so-
not a gimme. So like,
No, it never is.
you know, if you're telling me that Washington's got 4 games to end the year, the chances of them losing one of those 4 as like a collective percentage, like we talked about, is the chances of Washington winning out. I think are like, I have no idea. I give them maybe like 25 to 30.
Yeah, it would be
30%,
somewhere around there.
like
I'd
a
say,
quarter
yeah.
to like
coin flip games
yeah,
coming up.
yeah,
So
yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, and then outside of that,
Yeah,
I actually
just keep going down the list. Like number 10,
You
you've
know
got Auburn.
I think Auburn does actually control their.
I think they
destiny.
definitely
Yeah,
do. If
yeah, they do.
if they beat, they would have to beat Georgia twice and Alabama.
Yeah.
They would be the top SEC team in,
Yeah.
and then you could question, does Alabama also get in at that point? It
Right.
just depend on who else wins
Right,
and
which
loses.
I think is possible. Yeah, I think. Besides that, though,
After that, now you're getting
you're
two
getting
long
like,
shots.
You're getting into where like who's the last team on that list that realistically could get in with like ultimate chaos?
This down in the rankings right now that I think still has any chance at all is Ohio State at 13.
Yeah,
It would have to get pretty weird.
like they would probably have to smoke everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'd probably have to look pretty good. Probably. I think we would need the Big 12. This is what we need to happen in the Big 12. There's actually kind of an under the radar game, the Big 12 race tomorrow. Iowa State,
And the
Oklahoma
Pokes.
State.
Yeah.
Iowa State still pretty much controls their own destiny in the Big 12 with 3 losses. If they win tomorrow against Oklahoma State at home, the rest of their schedule are games they should probably win. They would most likely could be a big time spoiler for the Big 12 conference trying to get into the playoff.
Right.
The remaining games would be Baylor and Kansas State.
Winnable.
Yeah, obviously they would be favored. They're both on the road.
Right.
So
yeah, I think things would have to get weird.
Yeah.
I don't think teams that are like below Auburn are getting in this year. And to be honest, as an OSU fan, I don't think OSU deserves to get in at all. I mean, after you get spanked by a 3-star program in Iowa, and hey, if you're watching the podcast and you're in Iowa City, you did well. I mean, I'm not trying to like crush your program, but you are like a 3-star program, and you kicked our team. Answer the question, or I guess kind of going along with our doomsday scenario. I do think there is a scenario where Ohio State could get in. I think it's one of those ones that we're just like, we're just trying to talk about every scenario that's possible.
Yeah.
But I think those top 8.
I mean, it's possible because, all right, just say Iowa State won the Big 12. Just
right.
Talking crazy hypotheticals. Now, the other things that would happen aren't that unreasonable. Like Notre Dame losing a game.
Right.
Could happen tomorrow. Washington losing a game. We think that'll happen down the road. Pac-12 champ having 2 losses. We might just jump them. And if the Big 12 champ has 3 losses in Iowa State, those would be all the teams that we'd need to clear, basically. And then it would be down to, does a 1-loss SEC team get in over Ohio State or not?
Maybe.
Yeah.
See, that's
why you need to look good in the rest of your games.
That's why I just don't think it's going to happen. It's and we don't think it's going to happen. We're just trying to lay out the scenario.
I'm just saying there's a chance.
Yeah. So,
but like after last week's game, I don't think very many, if any, Ohio State fans are even thinking playoff.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of fans are, kind of think we're going to lose tomorrow.
Yeah. And I mean, for good reason.
Yeah.
The team in the series that they haven't won at home since 2007, I think.
Yeah, that was the last time the home team won in this series.
D'Antonio, I heard today on the radio, I don't know why I mentioned D'Antonio, but like the cumulative score of the last, or however many, whatever, Urban being at OSU against D'Antonio, the score total of all the games is Ohio State 121 to 120. So this
yeah.
D'Antonio is a good coach, and Michigan State has far exceeded expectations this year with all the guys that they lost in the offseason to arrests and such. So tomorrow's game, I mean, if we're gonna get into the games for next week right away, if that's the first game we're talking about, I don't know what to expect.
Is there anything else to talk about
for the playoff?
Yeah.
Who wins the national titles right now, off the top of your head?
It's hard to say.
I mean, I'm gonna make you say it because it's the podcast. So,
fuck.
Like, who do you just right away? You're like, you know what? I'm going with this team. I have a team that I thought of today. And I was like, I'm going with them.
I'm just gonna say Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I don't want to say Alabama or Clemson.
Yeah. Okay. I think Clemson's gonna do it again, and I don't want them to, but I have this weird feeling like they're just kind of hanging out, and Dabo knows how to coach against Saban, if that's how it ended up being again.
Well, they have done amazing in the big game for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Georgia's for real. I think what
no one's been better in the big games.
I think what gives me pause with Georgia is has Saban lost to an old assistant before? I don't think he ever has.
Well, he doesn't lose many games anyway.
That's true. They don't really lose. So, all right. Well, yeah.
So
there's our playoff scenarios for the time being. I'm sure these will certainly change.
Yep.
Getting into games real quick for next week. OSU, Michigan State. Since we started to talk about that, I don't know what to expect. This game opened at 15 or 15.5. It got bet down to like 14.5. It's back up to 17. Now it's at 16. If Ohio State shows up to play and basically, I guess the coaches don't screw it up as far as like the problem with us is we don't have an identity. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if we're going to give Dobbins the ball. I don't know if we're going to try to air it out every fucking play.
Yeah.
I don't know if the linebackers are going to overrun plays every single time.
Does Michigan State have a tight end? Because that could be pretty dangerous if we do.
Yeah, I haven't. Running this podcast, we probably should know this type of thing going into a game tomorrow. I can't think.
I actually can't think of it.
I'll tell you what I do know about Michigan State. They've been kind of bad running the football this year. The rookie's been pretty good throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think we're just going to run all over them.
Yeah,
I think JT's going to have to play well.
I thought they'd have a better run game, and they're just like.
I think
they're not very efficient.
O-line's, I think, underachieved.
Yeah.
And that's not good against our D-line.
Yeah, they're like a 4 yards per carry kind of team. Not very good in college football.
Good, yeah. Having said that, I want to get through these games quickly.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State, I feel pretty comfortable with Ohio State winning the game. I don't know about the 17 points. I'm not betting this game. I have no clue. Ohio State could easily cover. They could also lose the game. So
yeah,
I do feel that way. So
yeah, well, after the last 2 weeks with Ohio State, it's like what is this team? They're like two completely different teams.
Yeah, they rolled Penn State minus the sloppiness.
Yeah,
and then got rolled by.
But the problem is, in both weeks, there was a lot of sloppiness.
Right.
And it killed us against Iowa. Yeah. Penn State, we actually recovered from it
miraculously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that could have ended up bad too. Yeah. That could have ended up like, the Iowa game if
easily.
It kind of looked like it was.
We were like a stalled drive or two away from being down 28-31 to 3. I mean, it was that kind of game. But that game. It felt different because we were owning the line of scrimmage. We were doing whatever we wanted, pretty much defensively and offensively against Iowa. They, just literally punched us in the face, and that never happens to us. So it never happens to us against teams like that.
Yeah.
Oklahoma and Clemson proved otherwise, which is kind of concerning in the last year. But anyway, so you like Ohio State to win the game?
Close game, yeah.
They win
Ohio State.
Okay.
I'm surprised by the point spread. This game's
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this game's always close.
Yeah, which makes me, I don't know. It makes me think like Ohio State's gonna kill them, but. Every time I think that.
Well, like I said, we don't know what to expect given the last 2 weeks.
Let's move on to whatever the next game is.
Georgia Auburn.
Okay, yeah, we can go into that real quick. That spreads at 2. Georgia plays at Auburn. Obviously, like we've already discussed, both these teams pretty much control their destiny. I think Georgia wins the game, and the reason is Stidham this year has been kind of bad when facing pressure. Like I feel like he gets really shaky with happy feet, and I think Georgia will probably try to bring it against him. And I think Georgia, for the most part, will be able to run the ball. I think Auburn will slow it down a little bit because Auburn does have a good defense. But I think it'll be a tight game, and I think Georgia wins within a score. I'll say, I guess if I think that, I guess I say they cover. But yeah, I think they pull it out.
Yeah, this one is pretty much a coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to go with Auburn to win this game. They could end up playing each other again.
Yeah.
It's
that sells, and puts their season on the line against their running game, and just like, you know what, we're gonna actually make Georgia for the first time all year make him win the game, basically.
Yeah,
that's what I would do if I was Auburn, to be honest, because if you lose this game, you're out. So like, so yeah, okay, yeah, you have Auburn. I think that's more than the next game.
Should we
real quick if you want to do that? I saw that up. Yeah. I think Iowa State covers. I think Oklahoma State win game. They've been playing. They have pretty good defense. I think that they will has a little bit. As far as like playmaking, and I think maybe they win the game on the last drive or something, and they win a tight one.
Yeah, I would have to go with Oklahoma State also. I mean, better team. Iowa State's had, pretty amazing season for their standards.
They did great. Matt Campbell's a good coach.
Yeah, I don't know how long they can keep that up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you.
You think they cover though, Iowa State?
I don't know. I'd probably just take Oklahoma State.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and lay the.
I think it's like 6.5. So that's fine.
It's not a game that I'm going to be betting or anything.
Right. Because I was coming off such an emotional win. Wisconsin, similar to Alabama, they're actually a little banged up.
Yeah, they're missing some defensive guys.
Yeah.
And not that this matters, they have a few receivers out too.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
But
are they good at blocking?
Jonathan Taylor.
He's been great.
He's been great. He's also been a little banged up the last few weeks. So Wisconsin needs him to have a good game to win.
Yeah.
They cannot rely on what's that guy's name? Quarterback. He's
Stony. No.
Yeah.
Penny or Stony Brook. I don't know. That's
Hornibrook.
Yeah, Hornibrook. Yeah. Stony Brook. Hornibrook. Stony Brook's a college. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think Wisconsin wins. I think this game's pretty tight. I don't think this is actually one I don't have on the books yet, but I think I might end up taking Iowa at some point tonight or tomorrow with the points, because it's just a lot of points in a game with two teams that like to slug it out. And
Big Ten West.
I don't see Iowa just having like a collapse just because they crushed us last week. Like,
I don't see them having a letdown game just because it's Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And for them, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So you do have Iowa.
I already have taken Iowa plus 11.5.
Who wins the game?
I would take Wisconsin wins the game. Okay. I would take Iowa even if they didn't do what they did to us last week with those points, just because this series, Iowa hasn't lost by more than 10 to Wisconsin since 1999.
Yeah.
It's usually it's a rivalry. It's usually a pretty close game. They're the kind of teams that are pretty comfortable playing like a 17-10 game. It'll probably be something like that.
Yeah.
It seems like all Iowa's games end up that score unless they're playing us.
Right. Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we both have them covering. We both have Wisconsin winning. Next matchup.
Well, Florida State Clemson, we thought that would be a big game, but it's not.
No. Alabama, Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I actually do have. I have Mississippi State plus 14. I have this bet on the books. Bama's a little banged up for the reasons I've stated earlier. I think Mississippi State is a good team. They're well coached. I like their quarterback. dual threat quarterbacks have given Alabama troubles ever since Saban's been there.
Yeah.
That's been like the one thing that they have had some trouble with. So I do think that Mississippi State covers this game, and I think this will be tight. I think Alabama pulls it out, but I would not be that shocked if Mississippi State pulled the shocker, I think it would shock.
If they did, it would make the end of the season a lot more fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with this game, I mean, how many linebackers does Alabama have out now? They just lost two for the season.
Yeah, they're also Minka Fitzpatrick is banged up too. I think he's playing, but he was really hobbled last week. Like they're hurting.
And last year, and maybe this year too, we'll find out. Last year, I didn't think they had the same depth that they usually did.
Yeah.
You kind of saw in the championship game when they just wore down at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that'll definitely be tested. They obviously have, 5 stars galore waiting in the wings, but they're guys that really haven't, at this point,
they haven't played college football. Yeah.
So that definitely matters.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they have a ton of time to prepare. I mean, they got a week. So
yeah.
My questions about Mississippi State are just because how they looked against Georgia and Auburn, the other big games they played. Yeah, they got destroyed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to do the same thing in this game.
Right.
If I were to pick it, I would probably go with you and take the 14 points.
I wouldn't be shocked if Alabama killed them. I just feel like Mississippi State's good to cover. So I don't know. It's not like
this is Bama's toughest game of the year to date. So.
Yeah. All right. So next game, TCU Oklahoma. It looks like. I think this one will be fun to watch. Gary Patterson is usually really good in the spot. If TCU had any other quarterback besides Kenny Hill, I think I'd actually pick TCU to win the game. And I'm not saying they can't win the game anyway.
You took TCU in the points, right?
I don't have that game bet yet.
Okay.
I still might, but I think it's at like 6.5 now, so I might wait, obviously. But I do think they cover, though, and I think this game is close all the way to the end, obviously, if they're going to cover.
TCU covers, right?
Yeah. I just trust Baker Mayfield more than I trust Kenny Hill pretty much to make a play. For sure. I mean, I just think Kenny Hill is a turnover machine. I think Baker has proven he can make big plays. So I give slight edge to Oklahoma. Definitely would not be shocked if TCU wins the game, though, because Gary Patterson is a good coach, and that defense is much closer to what they usually have been in the past. So
yeah, Baker Mayfield, I think, is way ahead in the Heisman race at this point. The winner of this game controls their own destiny for the playoff. The loser has a really good shot at getting a rematch in the Big 12 championship.
Which could ruin their chances. Conference chances. Yeah.
It'd be funny if the Big 12 knocks itself out because of putting in this pretty dumb championship game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think so. The over/under it's around 62. What do you think? Over or under?
Probably over. Yeah. It's the Big 12.
I took the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points. In this one.
It's the Big 12. Like I could see it being like 38-31 type of thing.
Yeah.
So 38-34. I think
exactly.
Yeah.
Or even more than that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. If it's 49-45, I'm not gonna be like, oh, like I can't believe this happened. It's the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like we don't bet Big 12 unders like hardly. Okay, I looked the other day. I think I've taken one Big 12 under in the last 2 years, and it was a Texas Tech game earlier this year where it was 86. I mean, that's the only under I've ever taken.
Like
I think
the only thing that would really surprise me score-wise is if they play this game in the 20s.
Yeah, that would shock me.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Over.
yeah. There's no. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So
the final game.
Notre Dame, Miami, ABC. Steele will be on edge with this game. Miami.
The game.
Go ahead.
Tons of big games. I think this is the one that most people are looking forward to, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because Miami, they just keep on winning, even though we keep expecting them to lose at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of Miami. Still, it's crazy because the reason that we've been hating on Miami all year, besides the close games, is that like what do they do that's elite? Nothing, right?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
They literally do nothing.
We thought that their front seven was going to be really good. They've disappointed a little bit. I mean, they haven't been great against the run.
They're very good. They are elite sideline to sideline.
Yeah.
They can cover ground. They have amazing athletes.
Notre Dame isn't trying to run outside.
Notre Dame's not going like this. Notre Dame's going like
Notre Dame's running in a straight line down the field between the tackles.
Miami, I think their problem is they're so reliant on big plays on offense, and they've made some big ones. They've been explosive, but they have trouble moving the chains consistently. And I think in tight games, when you need clutch first downs to help keep your defense off the field, to help sustain drives, obviously, to get into the red area, I don't trust them to do that. I think Rozier has a tendency to, like Kenny Hill, throw the ball away when things get kind of hectic. So I think for those two main reasons, I like Notre Dame actually a lot in this game. This was the first bet I booked all week. I booked it on Sunday night as soon as I saw it at 3 points. I just think that they run it pretty much the same way they've been doing all year. Miami might slow it down just a little bit, but I do like Notre Dame a lot in this game. And I think the biggest thing with Notre Dame this year is everyone wants to talk about their offensive line, their running game with, valid reasoning, but their defense has been so improved from last year. Like, their defense has actually been pretty good this year. And I thought that they would improve from horrendous to average.
Yeah.
It would make Notre Dame maybe a dark horse contender, but they've been a lot better. You have to give a lot of credit to Elko. And to be honest, I give a lot of credit to Brian Kelly for kind of checking the ego a little bit and letting these coordinators take over. Like, Brian Kelly's such a pass-happy coach, and they're running it down people's throats, which I want Ohio State to do what they're doing. I don't understand why we don't do what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, though.
We said, we're about
I
to
like
get off topic there.
Yeah.
We'll
I don't get Ohio State because this could go on forever. So.
I was about to start talking Ohio State.
Yeah, but I guess to finish my thought real quick, I think Notre Dame wins this game by 10-plus points. Easy cover, I think, and they roll on. So
yeah, Nick's been really confident about this.
Very
probably
confident.
One of your most confident of the season.
I would say it's close.
Yeah.
I felt very, very good about Coastal Carolina last week against Arkansas because Fat Brett sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
If I had to pick, I'd probably reluctantly say Notre Dame and lay the points. Yeah. But Miami, I also feel like I should stop expecting Miami to lose. They just seem to win games.
Do you think?
And sometimes it's just like not explainable. But
do you think? I mean, this is gonna be tough me asking this because I'm trying to think of a team that like relates to Miami
in the past that we've seen.
It's gonna be biased, but like where I'm going with this. Like 0-2 Ohio State.
Yeah.
A lot of people felt like Ohio State was very fraudulent 0-2. They had a lot of close games. They were very stagnant at times on offense.
That team beat good teams. And they also had close games with not good teams. That was the reason. But they proved that they could beat good teams for most of the season.
I think the big difference, I think you made a really good point that nobody talks about with Miami is when we talk about like playoff teams, usually all of them do something elite.
Yeah.
Alabama is usually elite on the line of scrimmage, and especially with their defense. Georgia's been elite with their defense, line of scrimmage, running game. I mean, when we talk about like college football, NFL, any kind of football in general, the main thing that you want to do is win. If you win both lines of scrimmage and you're not a disaster as far as turning the ball over, you probably win most every game you play. If you win both lines, you probably win.
Yeah.
In like 0-2 Ohio State, they were elite. I mean, that was one of the best defenses I've seen. And so I don't feel the same way about Miami. Miami's not elite at anything. I did say they're elite sideline to sideline, but that's just like a subtle part of the defense. Like they if you run at them or I think you can throw on them. Like
they have athletes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make them a great defense.
And to be honest, like maybe he doesn't get a fair shake, but Mark Richt in the past has had good teams throughout the regular season, and then in big moments they haven't capitalized.
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, at the end of the season, he's had struggles.
Yeah, and they might not have been clunkers, but they didn't win the game, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I honestly would be pretty darn surprised if Miami won this game. I understand that it's at home, it's a 3-point spread, so it shouldn't be that surprising.
Is the crowd actually going to have an impact in this game?
I mean, usually I don't think so because
it's Miami.
This is the thing that I hate. I don't understand.
I thought this was funny. When I was driving over here, I heard Herb Street on the radio talking about how Notre Dame would deal with Miami's crowd noise.
I understand that when Miami played Virginia Tech last week, and Corey from Denver can attest to this, that was the first time in a while that I did actually feel like there was a little bit of a home field advantage. The problem that Miami has, and this is what I don't understand with like certain universities, is their Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Dolphin Stadium, is like 30 minutes from Miami's campus.
Yeah.
On-campus stadiums is the only thing that ever should exist. There shouldn't be stadiums off campus because it does make it kind of hard sometimes for students to get to games. It's farther away.
It would kill the atmosphere.
Miami doesn't exactly have they don't have like people that are alums that are down there that are like Ohio State's different. You have a city that is in love with the program. They're immersed in it. Kids are born into it. Yeah. But like Miami, yeah, exactly. But like Miami, most of the people that live in Miami aren't from there. So like it's just different with those kinds of programs. And I think they'll have a little bit, I give them a little bit of an edge because I do think that this is like the biggest game they've played in a long time.
Oh yeah.
It's not enough to where like it's not even in the same ballpark as like Georgia at Auburn. Jordan Hare is going to be off the wall. It's fucking crazy. And that's how usually the SEC home fields are. That's how Ohio State, Happy Valley, whoever you want to talk about. But Miami historically has been, that's not a home. You have two programs in this game that Notre Dame earlier in the year had 35,000 Georgia fans in South Bend inside the stadium. That's fucking unacceptable. So, and Steele admitted that. He was not happy about that.
But, that would be embarrassing.
But yeah, so you think Notre Dame probably wins like a little closer game?
Well, I could see Notre Dame winning comfortably.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting Miami completely. I definitely think they can win this game.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to squeak it out if they're gonna win though.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think Notre Dame is the better team.
I feel like if Miami wins the game, in my mind, I'm still like, well, it's fine because they're just gonna lose to somebody. But like, they just will keep winning, and like,
if they get to the playoff, I feel like they would get beat down by someone.
Oh, I think if Miami played,
but I mean, if they get to Clemson, I don't see them beating Clemson.
No,
either, so.
I think if you have a defense that can like the havoc stat, any defense that can do that to Miami, I feel like after the Iowa game, I probably shouldn't say that I feel like Ohio State's going to whip anybody, but like just because we're fans and we know the most about that team, I feel like with our defensive line, we get Rozier to throw like 3 picks and we just destroy them. But at the same time, it's like Miami hasn't lost yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. They keep doing just enough, it seems like. Except they finally played probably their best game of the season last week.
I will give them credit that, like, I think Virginia Tech's not as good as we thought. Even, like, Corey will admit that. I'm surprised that Virginia Tech can't run the ball at all. This has been a program that's ran the ball well ever since we've been kids. Now, it is a new regime. I think they are a little more pass-happy. And I think that's, as much as Corey loves Fuente, I do remember thinking that, like, even though he wasn't at Memphis that long, they didn't really run the ball that well. And I do honestly believe to win national championships and to win big-time football games, I think you have to run the football at least adequately.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to play defense.
Virginia Tech, defense is a must.
Virginia Tech,
you've seen it with every national champion.
Forever.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can't think of a national champion that didn't have, like, at least a like a really good defense. Like
Yeah, in college football, it's still really like the champions are always like kind of teams where they own the lines, and they play good defense. Yeah, it's pretty much it. And then you see teams like Oregon, with all their offense and everything, they just get to those kind of games.
Yeah, we see all this flash early.
Big 12 teams.
Big 12 is just not going to win. Yeah. You can't not win the line and win defensively and expect to get it. That's why I don't want to see Oklahoma get in, because I just don't think they have any chance in a 2-game format. I think you have to be able to stop somebody.
Yeah.
So I think we covered all the games.
We covered all the big games. Yeah, that was all the ranked games. We could talk about the Washington-Stanford game, which is about to start.
Okay. To be totally honest, have not seen a lot of Washington this year. To be honest, actually, the only Washington I've seen, they played poorly. I saw them play Rutgers, and then what was the other game that we determined that they didn't play? I watched a little bit of that game, and I was not impressed with Washington.
No, they're pretty bad in that game. They scored 7 points on Arizona State.
Yeah.
Almost got shut out.
However, this is the worst Stanford team I've seen in a bit. There's some injury.
Quarterback play is horrendous.
Quarterback play is beyond bad. It's worse than Big Ten West
and
bad.
It's crazy. Like, we thought this would be a really good Stanford team.
I had them in the playoffs.
Yeah. And if they had even mediocre quarterback play, they'd be a really good team.
Yeah.
Bryce Love would probably, have even better numbers.
Yeah,
like, he's been pretty unstoppable, even though everyone knows what Stanford's going to do.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty bad run defenses in the Pac-12 too.
I agree with your statement for the most part. Their defense this year has been a lot weaker than it usually is. They haven't been very good against the run. USC, when they played them, USC ran all over them, and USC is not that good on the line. So that's why I think if Notre Dame gets by Miami, I think Notre Dame just walks into the playoff, because Navy usually gives Notre Dame a pretty tough game, but I mean, come on, Notre Dame should beat their ass. And it could now, that could be a good spot if we're talking about bets, because that's like our favorite part of the segment, the pod. I'm going to be looking to bet Navy next weekend if Notre Dame smacks Miami.
Yeah.
Because if Navy catches like 21 points,
I was going to say it'd be 17 at least.
Oh, at least I think it's
probably
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns around there probably.
Yeah.
I would take Navy too.
Probably. And I think people will hammer Notre Dame, and you could possibly get like a really nice line on that. But anyway, that's I think as far as getting back on topic, I mean I think Stanford's banged up. I think Washington will be able to do enough on offense to cover that 6-point spread. I actually think it'll be closer to around 10 to 14 points, but I wouldn't be shocked if Stanford won the game. I mean, it's Pac-12 football.
Yeah.
It's teams that are underwhelming and underachieving.
Been an underachieving conference, I'd say, this year.
It really has. And
I mean, Stanford obviously has not lived up to what we thought this year. USC hasn't.
Yeah.
Washington's just still kind of there.
I think USC quietly the last few weeks has played a lot better, but that's within conference. Like, that's against the teams that I just don't think are. Did you say who you think covers or wins or?
I don't.
You have.
I guess I would think.
You have.
I actually don't know. Yeah, I have a bet. I don't know who's gonna, cover this game.
Yeah.
But I took the under. Washington has been pretty solid on the under this year.
They've been very
just about every week
defensively.
Yeah.
And offensively, they haven't been like as explosive.
Yeah, they've been good defensively. Know that.
Yeah. I actually think from what I researched, the metrics favor the over, but computers don't take into account injuries and guys that are 100%. Bryce Love's not. Wait,
this guy, Bryce Love, yeah.
Okay, I thought that was like a.
This got bet down from 50 to 45 too.
Oh, I didn't know it opened that high. Okay.
Yeah, and since I was trying to ignore college football for most of the week, I just went with it at 45 anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be low scoring. So.
I think it could potentially be we're about to go watch it. It could be boring. Like
Yeah.
it could be like 21 to
I'm
like
hoping
7.
it's a boring game.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think Washington probably moves on, but like I said, as far as playoff scenarios, I think Washington loses at some point. And you Pac-12 fans are gonna probably be like us.
Maybe we can play in some other bowl and pretend it's the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, we could do that. We could smack USC around, maybe.
That'd be fun.
Well, or maybe Iowa will. So.
Iowa is the greatest team ever.
They pretty much are like the national.
Kirk Ferentz should be coach of the year again.
Yeah, as much as I don't like him. I mean,
he'll probably get like a 20-year extension now.
Oh, he's they'll probably rename the university Ferentz too. So yeah, do you have anything else you want to add for the end, or I think we pretty much covered everything. We don't need to discuss like other things like the Heisman. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't either.
So we gave our kind of playoff scenarios right now, just gun to our heads. Georgia national champion, Clemson. I know we both hate that,
but I have no idea either.
I don't know. I just threw it out there just for something fun for the.
I just said
this week.
Let me go
ahead and pull that
bets.
up. I will go with Notre Dame. I already had 2 earlier this week that I felt very, very confident in Appalachian State minus 17 against Georgia Southern, the worst team in college football. Appalachian State covered that game by, I think, 4 or 5 points. So that might have been my lockish one, but I have been very, very confident this week and very bullish on Notre Dame. So I will say that I like Notre Dame a lot. Your bet,
TCU, Oklahoma, OC2. We already talked about this.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. That might be one that I jump on. So I mean,
should be a lot of points. Another one I like, Michigan, Maryland under 46. Michigan under has been one of my go-tos this year.
Yeah,
they play for the most part pretty good defense, and Maryland is terrible on offense.
Yeah, Maryland's quarterback is like, that's probably a pretty solid bet.
Yeah, they might get shut out, so that's always good.
Yeah, that's really good for the under. So yeah, I think that's pretty much.
Although I do like my Iowa bet too. I feel good about it.
Yeah, that's one that I'm probably like, as soon as this is over at the bar, I'll probably book that because I felt good about that all week. I just haven't booked it for some reason. But so yeah, if you guys, like we've said before, if you have comments of your own or who you think is going to get into the playoff, or if you think we have stupid opinions, or if you guys, I'll put our
just say something.
Yeah,
give us something to talk about.
I'll put our bets on, some of our more confident bets throughout the pod. I actually looked at our updated overall record.
Oh yeah, let's
we
tell the records.
are 57 or 58% overall so far through the year. That's really, really good.
That's positive EV.
That's like, if you ask any pro handicapper, that's amazing for the year so far. So Steele was he was kind of lacking, but then last week he had the best week.
Steele's been #unfocused.
He's been a dad.
He got back on track last week.
Yeah, he's been a dad, but last week he put a little more time into it, and he went like 7-1. So
yeah, and actually his only losing bet was Notre Dame, who took their foot off the gas and got backdoored.
That was the worst. Actually, quick funny little story at the casino. I played poker full time, and this guy that was next to me said that he had a 5-team parlay in Vegas last week. Notre Dame was the last piece of that, and it cost him $6,000. And he decided to just ride the lightning and not hedge. I think he had a chance to hedge it, and he said, "No, Notre Dame will spank Wake." They were spanking them. They put in their second stringers. They couldn't fucking tackle. They took their foot off the gas. They let Wake back in that game, and it doesn't matter how you cover. If you cover, then that's the side that looks like the right side. So
I would never not hedge that.
You mean like the one with Uncle Phil that cost us $2K each? So
yeah, if you have the opportunity, and you can just take.
You're not a ride the lightning guy?
No.
I think it depends on the amount.
It depends on the amount, yeah.
I think it definitely depends. Well,
I would take $3K. I don't know how much this guy makes.
I think he makes enough to where that's not super important.
Okay. If that's like a bet size, then yeah.
let me put
let
it to
it
you this
ride.
way: when we play like PLO, he's willing to just put like 1,000 in the middle and just say like, "Let's just gamble." He doesn't care.
I can see that.
Yeah. So we'll be back.
records.
Or yeah, go for that real quick.
Yeah,
and then
so
we'll-
records. Corey, 62 and 52
That's
and
great.
1.
That's great.
Yeah. Steele, 33, 27 and 1.
That's great. That's good.
I am 49, 32 and 3.
Ooh, damn.
And
That might be
this
the best
guy
percentage.
is 63, 44 and
That's
2.
great. Yeah,
So
no, it's great. We're doing good.
everyone's making money.
Yeah, we're doing. So we basically know our shit. I mean, like, I'm
Yep.
not trying to sound like a douchebag, but when
Yeah.
we
And I feel like we
consistently
haven't,
put our bets out there, you guys should listen.
yeah, and we haven't tracked it in past years like we have this year, but I'd say pretty much every year, like, we're doing pretty good, right?
I've tracked mine. Last year, I was 54%.
Yeah, I don't know what my
Massive.
percentage was.
The year before, I was 60%. So I'm doing all right.
2 years ago, I won my Pick'em League, so
Yeah.
I did pretty good that year.
So basically, what we're trying to say is like, if you guys know who like Clay Travis is, he advertises selling his picks. He's a losing better. Phil Steele, who I still admire and think Phil's just having an off year, but Phil Steele is like 10 or 11 games under 500 this year.
Yeah, we can't hate on Phil Steele because
We get a lot of our info from
yeah,
him.
we get a lot of our info from the magazine
It's-
that he puts together.
It's a flukish year. I think Phil, if you probably look at, if he keeps his records, I guarantee if you go back the last 15 to 20 years, Phil's a winning better for
Yeah.
sure. But the point is like you guys just think this is some like ragtag dog shit podcast in my basement, but we're 58%. I mean, if you're a bettor that's betting $100 a pop, you're doing pretty well this year. So
It's your loss for not watching.
yeah, I mean, honestly, you 8 guys that are watching, I hope you're listening. Now, I know this pod has been going up on like Friday night, which I wish we might talk about how to change. I've actually had ideas about how to change that potentially. We would possibly do like a Skype thing and then record it when you're at home, and then I could put it up on like Tuesday or Wednesday, like Bear and Sanford Steve do, and like Payne and Todd Furman do. So that's something that I don't know if we're gonna get into that this year. That might be something we look into next year if we're still in different locations. But yeah, so to wrap up the pod, you got your playoff scenarios. We've talked about the big games coming up this weekend. There's going to be it's exciting, man. November's a great time of the year. I mean, college football is really getting into like the meat of it. And like we've said, this for people that are advocates of the 4-team playoff, which we are, and I think it'd be fine at 6, but we really do feel like it's perfect at 4 teams.
Oh, it's great.
For this reason, there's elimination games. TCU, Oklahoma, Miami, Notre Dame. These are all like basically Sweet 16, like Elite 8 type of games.
And as much as we love the Buckeyes, if it was 8 teams or something like that, Ohio State would
good shot. We probably
we would control our own destiny.
I actually
no
think
question.
we would. Yeah, I actually think we'd be.
All we have to do is win the Big Ten.
Right, which is questionable right now. But I think, but no, I know what you're saying that. Like it takes away college football. The reason that it's, in my opinion, better than the NFL or the college football people that or the fans that love college football, is because the regular season means so much more. You can be 8-8 in the NFL and get like a 6 seed and potentially win the Super Bowl.
There were a lot of games. There were a lot of games at the end of last year, huge games that were like basically like playoff games.
I mean,
that wouldn't have had really any meaning if it was an 18 playoff.
That's the way that you guys should look at it. Like when you watch Notre Dame Miami tomorrow night at 8:00. It's a playoff game. You should. I mean, it is an exciting time.
Oh yeah, it's for sure a playoff game.
Yeah.
If it was 8 teams, then it wouldn't.
It really. I don't think it would be. Yeah, it might not be. So until the next week, I'll post some of our bets so you guys have them up there just to see. But I think that's it. I'm not a TV person. I don't have a good outro, so that's it. Fuck it.
Bye.
Bye.